Now it's time for more fun with unfun things as we continue to explore a document that some Democrats colorfully describe as terrifying, dystopian, and the end of democracy. Project 2025 is a 922-page proposal of conservative ideas meant as a guideline for a Republican president. It was drafted by a conservative think tank in D.C. called the Heritage Foundation, which has been drafting this sort of stuff for decades. This specific draft, though, is getting a lot of attention because it proposes some pretty dramatic changes to our structure of government and was written by dozens of people linked to Donald Trump and his presidency. Now, Trump, I have to mention, disavows this plan, though his campaign is pointing us to Trump's plan instead, called Agenda 47. Now, we did an entire segment on this on Wednesday. You can find that on WRAL.com or YouTube. But tonight, we're going to play a little game of red light, green light, with the Democrats' assertion that Project 2025 is in fact secretly Trump's agenda. Where is that correct? And where should we slow down a bit and take a closer look? Let's go in depth. Okay, we're going to get into a lot here, so stay with me, all right? We've been getting tons of emails about this, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to read those emails, answer those questions, and we're going to go issue by issue according to what we see in the agendas. If you have more questions about specific policies, send them to Dan at WRAL.com. If we don't talk about yours tonight, don't worry, we're going to keep working on this. Let's start with a biggie from Tim, who says, please emphasize what they intend for public education. So this is a green light. Project 2025 and Trump go hand in hand on this issue. Both call for the Department of Education to be disbanded. It's really that simple. The next one from Carla. She asks, how will abortion, reproductive rights be impacted? So we got to hit the brakes on this one. We should stop assuming that the agendas line up perfectly on this issue. Trump's platform does not call for a nationwide abortion ban. It says, we proudly stand for families and life. We will oppose late-term abortion. Project 2025 doesn't propose a nationwide abortion ban either, but it does want a ban on abortion pills. It calls to reverse approval of chemical abortion drugs. Now, several people also asked about a term fetal personhood, which is a legal term that considers embryos and fetuses to be people and to have rights. But that term never appears in either Project 2025 or Agenda 47. Here is another one, a big one from Lewis. How is immigration addressed? Well, green again on this one. Project 2025 and Trump both want to beef up the Border Patrol, they want to finish the border wall, and they want to deport millions of people living in the country illegally. Project 2025 goes into a bit more detail, but the overarching sentiment is pretty much the same. Pat hit three big topics. He asked, will there be any cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and veterans benefits? Let's slow down on all of these. Project 2025, for instance, doesn't call for any cuts or protections to Social Security. In fact, Social Security benefits are never really directly addressed in the document. Meanwhile, Trump's Agenda 47 is very clear. No cuts and no changes to the retirement age. What about Medicare and Medicaid? Well, Project 2025 doesn't explicitly call for cuts either, but this section about Medicaid is getting a lot of attention. To add targeted time limits or lifetime caps on benefits to disincentivize permanent dependence, which seems to mean that people would be cut off at some point. But they don't elaborate on what those limits could be. Agenda 47 doesn't mention Medicaid at all, but vows to protect Medicare, meaning no cuts there. With veterans benefits, it gets a little bit complicated, like very complicated, so I'm going to try my best to be concise here. Project 2025 calls for a reassessment of who gets disability and how much they get. So, while it doesn't call for specific cuts, it does say that the VA is handing out too much money. Agenda 47, though, says it will restore the Trump administration reforms to expand veterans' health care choices. And during Trump's presidency, the government increased spending for Veterans Affairs by billions of dollars. I want to end tonight, though, back where we started, with Tim's email about education, because it does speak to a bigger theme of concern from Democrats, a concern over power. Both Project 2025 and President Trump include changes that would increase presidential authority and limit the independence of federal agencies. Republicans see this as the only way to break through bureaucracy and make some noticeable improvements. Democrats think, on the other hand, it opens the door to authoritarianism. It all hinges, though, on Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution that says the executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States of America. It is the ultimate buck stops here, and the basis for something called the unitary executive theory. It's the idea that the Prez is the boss of anything that falls in their purview. And while that probably sounds extreme to a lot of you, calling it unprecedented, like so many have, may be a bit of an exaggeration. We're more like the frog who's just realizing that the water is boiling. Here's how Duke University political scientist Mac McCorkle put it.
I think the fair thing to say is over and over throughout the 20th century, more and more power has been consolidated in the executive branch. So it's not like that this is unprecedented in that this has been an evolving situation.
So what do you think about that? What are your thoughts? Let's get into a discussion on that part next week. Send me your emails, give me your questions. Again, if you have more specific policy questions, let me know those too. Something maybe we didn't get into today, something we did talk about today and you want some more clarity, let me know. Dan@WRAL.com. Tell me what's on your mind and we'll go in depth.